You know, the representative who just spoke now, I mean, this is the umpteenth time that representatives of the affected employees of the ANC have spoken out. It's really, as I indicated yesterday, it's a scandalous shame, really. You know, if you look at it, the top 6 of the ANC, the national leadership, all the ANC people, leaders in government, etc., are being paid. I mean, how does it go down with this ANC, including the NEC leadership, that the rank and file, the employees of this ruling party have been affected with salary, the inability to pay salaries for 5 months, except for, as I indicated yesterday, August and September. You know, if it was a different situation where all were affected, including the top 6, it's very interesting that they've got money to pay the top 6 and the president and all these other senior office bearers, but the staff of the ANC, they cannot find the money. And then going against the commitment that they made, that on the 15th of December, they would have paid, I understand, the 3 months outstanding, October, November, December. And, you know, as I said yesterday, on ENCA, this is like a couple of days away from Christmas, and thereafter, a week later, is New Year's Eve. The very worst time for staff of the ruling party. What an utter shame it is, this moment, for them. I mean, I don't think the staff of the ANC has ever been as disgruntled with absolute right to that feeling as they are now. And, you know, what more are they going to say? Every time they've created excuses, you know, dating back to August, and then finally made payment last week or a week before for August and September, and now the last 3 months out. And this is the most important payments, you know, October, November, and December, because of the festive season that's around the corner. That's here, in fact. I mean, you know, I've not read one acceptable explanation from anybody. Jesse Duarte, nobody has explained with justification why, you know, and satisfaction why the staff have not been. It's really and in fact, you know, I did not indicate it in the article, but I'll tell you now in public. I will not be surprised, and I don't think most of the people out there in this country, the way corruption has been so rampant in the ANC in all respects, at all levels, including the state-owned enterprises, everything, that some of the monies were stolen in the ANC.
Now, Dr. Harvey, just to interject there, just to interject there, because I do want us to, you know, unpack all the issues that you mentioned in your article. One of those being that I think much of the focus has been on the lack of money in the accounts of ANC staffers. You, however, also particularly focus on the legal obligations that the ANC as an employer has certainly failed to meet in this instance. We're talking about placing its workers in precarious positions. We're talking about, you know, unpaid medical aid bills, for instance, Provident Fund bills, UIF monies that are still outstanding. Yeah. Let's talk about that as well, right? Because I get the sense that we may not be making enough noise about that and that particular impact that the non-payment of these monies is having on workers.
Okay. What I have expressed prior, since you began this interview with me, is what I will more characterize as moral indignation. The relevant legislation is another thing which obviously relates to that moral indignation. In fact, you know, the staff themselves, I don't think has paid sufficient attention to the other matters besides. They focused a lot on the salaries. This is labor relations issues, you know, and there's lots of legislation indicating that the employer is compelled to send off the deductions that have been made for taxation, you know, medical aid, provident fund, pension to the relevant authorities. It's a legal obligation. And it has not been done. And I mean, can you believe that the ruling party has wantonly violated the relevant legislation? Which is why I pointed this out in the piece, you know. So it's a combination of moral indignation, especially at this time of the year, you know, and those workers have families to support, children, etc. You know, it's just, it's really a scandalous shame what the ANC has done, and they've had enough time. This is coming on a couple of years, and in fact, this year from August, that they've been unable to pay. So it's not something that has just suddenly, you know, confronted them. It's been there for a while, but they can find the funds to pay their senior officials, you know, and not the staff that matters most at the end of the day, to oil the machinery of the ruling party. And there's lots of work to be done. Those workers have been in the front line that the ANC has now betrayed, actually.
Yeah.
Betrayed the worst time of the year with the festive season upon us.
Yeah. I mean, it's egregious to say the least, Dr. Harvey, but just talking about those timelines that you mentioned, we've had several reports indicating that Treasurer General Paul Mashatile has taken the issue up with the ANC NEC, or at least has made plans to submit some kind of proposal aimed at addressing this issue. We know that, you know, workers have not been paid, rather, as you've mentioned, a portion of their salaries, this being for August and September. But I suppose my question to you, and in closing, really, what does it say that no commitment in writing, detailed plans or otherwise has been presented to the employees themselves for whatever balance is still outstanding when it comes to this growing salary bill?
That's the thing, you know, a wanton, let me tell you, not even private sector companies would dare do this to the employees. And here you have the ruling party conducting itself so shamelessly. I'm tired of Paul Mashatile and Jesse Duarte. Just look at this top six. All the obfuscations, the untruths, the lies, the evasions around this matter. If you're going to do research in the print media alone, you'll be having hundreds and hundreds of stories. Don't they get tired of it? It's very clear that they have not been serious and honest about these commitments, especially at this time of the year. Because if they were, they would have put their heads together, met with the NEC, and paid out the employees, man. I mean, you know, this is infuriating, honestly, and I can just imagine how every employee of the ANC affected is feeling right now, especially when they had the hopes, because they were promised to be paid by the 15th of December, and it's been dashed.
Yeah.
What more can we do?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a ruling party that should be in this government. Honestly, the ANC should be out of government, man. I mean, was this another country, you know, honestly, the ANC would never have lasted as long as it has. But it's got an electorate who has continuous, though the writing is on the wall if you look at the election results over the past decade. But they're really slow. I mean, you know, really, all the promises the ANC has made, whether electoral promises and now on salaries and payments, have been broken by the ANC.
So are you saying Dr. Harvey,
to be the government of this country, man?
Yeah, are you saying, Dr. Harvey, just to continue drawing inferences, really, we know that some of the protesting staffers have mentioned that this issue around unpaid salaries is really just the tip of the iceberg, and that it actually does speak to a greater problem that the organization may have. Problems around, structural problems around governance, for instance, right? You're talking about the party's poor performance in the local government elections. You're linking it to this particular issue. Is that an inference that South African voters, the electorate, should be drawing? That there's an internal crisis, yes, but it's not just political. It may be structural. It may be a governance issue too.
The thing is, you know, the councillors of the ANC in the different municipalities are pulling wool over the eyes of voters. They lie to these people. There's even been threats, we've heard it in the rural areas, you know, the old pensioners, that if they don't vote for the ANC, they won't get their pensions and, you know, social grants. It's been, I mean, Letsi Mbeki has spoken at length and provided a lot of evidence that this has been happening. This is a scandalous ANC really in power. But, you know, I blame the top six and the NEC of the ANC in particular. I mean, really, how can you believe this? The NEC and the top six, knowing how the affected staff have been, you know, for the past 5-6 months, and we have on the eve of Christmas and New Year, and they have still violated a promise that they solemnly made, that by the 15th of December they would be paid.
All right,
I
Doctor.
mean, this, you know, it's just scandalous, really.
All right.